that is waiting to be grown. We can plant a forest, green and strong. We'll create a forest, one tree at a time, all for the future of the earth. So we'll plant a forest, one tree at a time. Our hands, a world that's changing. From our hearts, a world of hope. In each tree, there is a forest that is waiting to be born. We can plant a forest, green and strong. We'll create a forest, one tree at a time. For the future of the earth, we'll plant a forest, one tree at a time. Let the trees grow free, let the trees grow high. We can make a change, one tree at a time. Plant the forest, green and strong. We'll create a forest, one tree at a time. All for the future of the earth. We'll plant a forest, one tree at a time. One tree at a time. One tree at a time.
Good morning. I'm Jeanette Faber. I'm honored to welcome you to this service and the Unitarian Society of New Haven. Today, we are celebrating Earth Day, this precious place, Earth, that we call home. And, as important, is to remind ourselves that our sanctuary stands on the lands once the home of the Quinnipiac people and other indigenous peoples. In celebrating Earth Day, let us remember the wisdom of indigenous people, spoken by Chief Seattle, that, quote, humankind has not woven the web of life. We are but one thread within it. Whatever we do to the web, we do to ourselves. All things are bound together. All things connect.
There are so many ways to see, experience, and explore the divine. So many perspectives, ideas, questions pointing every which way. But one thing is clear, beyond the shadow of a doubt, the earth is our home, our only home. We might spend our whole lives, or even many lives across millennia, exploring Earth from top to bottom, and we will still only scratch the surface of what there is to know about this marvelous, mysterious planet. My question to you is, how much more divine can it get than that?
We light this chalice and remember that we are ourselves earth, air, water, and fire. Earth has shaped the chalice cup. Air feeds the flame. Water rises skyward as fire sings out our name.
The fire of covenant gently warms the center of Unitarian Universalism, illuminating the myriad ways we gather in community. We are united not by a particular set of beliefs, but by the promises we make about how we will be together, how we will treat each other, and how we will seek to mend relationships when we fall short of our aspirations. While the following words express our intentions in writing, our true covenant lives and breathes in our actions. Please join me now in reciting the words that appear on your screen. We covenant together to create and nurture a culture of respect and kindness, and to engage in the spiritual and everyday practice of loving more generously. To this end, we will strive to be open, value differences, listen deeply, use kind language, speak our truths, work with conflict, and to seek humor and joy.
When Lao Tzu wrote the Tao Te Ching in the 6th century BCE, his goal was to give people a guide to life in harmonious balance with nature and with themselves. He was bothered by the efforts and ambitions of rich men and emperors and wanted to provide them with advice about how to be great, but also relaxed, at peace, and not so harmful to those around them. In Chapter 7 of the Tao Te Ching, he wrote, "Heaven lasts long, and earth lasts with it. What is the secret of their durability? Perhaps it is because heaven and earth do not live for themselves that they can live so long. Therefore, the wise among us want to remain behind, and that is how we find ourselves ahead of others. We let go of our ambition to change the earth, and thus find ourselves safe and secure. Is it not because we are as selfless as earth that our true selves are revealed?" Claire, how do you imagine Lao Tzu's words guiding you in your life journey?
I imagine Lao Tzu's words to help me in my life journey by reminding me that from selflessness comes longevity and prosperity.
Duncan, how do you imagine his words guiding you in your life journey?
Lao Tzu has taught me that to be happy, I have to put others before myself and be content with what I have.
A young wanderer sat down beside a river, under a blue sky, feeling a slight breeze against their skin, while the warmth of the spring sun settled them into a place of quiet reflection. The wanderer was worried, for all the news that came to them lately seemed just so overwhelming. There was news of hunger and conflict, news of fighting and injustice, news of changing weather and climate, news of forests lost and waters polluted. It so often seemed that the wisdom of the ancestors had been forgotten, and the people had likewise forgotten how to listen to Earth's voice itself. The wary wanderer wondered if they too had lost their connection with Earth's voice, and so they stilled their mind. Let each breath become part of the breeze. Let their heart's pulse align with the steady sway of trees. Let their thoughts bounce off and around rocks, just like the river. And let their feelings warm with the rising sun. The first of the earth's voices to speak to the wanderer was that of the water. It spoke in joyful babbling splashes and constant lilting burbles. It used the words that the wanderer recognized from the Tibetan book of living and dying. The flowing voice said that water in the world outside our bodies is deeply connected to water within us, teaching us about flexibility, showing us how to adapt our thoughts to flow freely and move around obstacles. The wanderer sat and listened to the voice of water for a time, and it sounded a little like this. The wanderer thanked the water for sharing its voice, knowing that it is a voice that all can hear if they listen for it. The wanderer then heard a second voice. It was the voice of the air and the blowing wind. It whispered of change, of connection, of deep sighs and song. It sang about its endless travels to every corner of the earth. It recited Jalal al-Din Rumi's age-old poem to the wanderer. On a day when the wind is perfect, the sail within you just needs to open, and love starts. Today is such a day. The wanderer heard this wind song and picked up their flute, playing along with the well-traveled breath. No sooner had the wind song come to the traveler than a new voice arose. It was the voice of fire, of the heat that comes from within the earth and from the distant sun. It hummed its own song, a persistent drone of movements so slow they are often mistaken for stillness. The music of that the wanderer heard echoed through the indigenous stories and in the words of elders for as long as stories have been told. Unlike the wind and river songs that spoke of boundless exploration and possibility, this song reminded the wanderer that one need not always be traveling. One must at times just simply stay put. Earth itself has been moved by fire, but by inches, over centuries. It has grown mountains through millennia, and these mountains, born of fire, are as much boundaries as they are reminders that we should not overstep, should not always be on the move, seeking more and more. If we grow along with the deep heat of inner earth and sun, we may eventually find ourselves as tall and as strong as mountains. The final voice of earth that presented itself to the wanderer's senses was the voice of earth itself, solid, moving, constantly reforming earth with its offerings of wood, stone, and metal. Earth's song had the dreamy, jubilant spirit of wind and water, but was also grounded and thoughtful, like the fire that moved it. Earth's harmonious vibrations flowed through the wanderer, and they sounded like this. The wanderer opened their eyes. They stretched and stood. They were filled with sound and hope, having reconnected to the voices of earth and the wisdom of sages. But now they wondered just how they could bring others back into a place of wonder, a place of stillness and potential energy, where they too could hear this essential music. So the wanderer carried the poetry of water, the harmonious voice of air, the drone of fire, and the melody of earth with them, and shared this 4-part symphony with others wherever a renewed connection was needed. When news of wildfires, deforestation, mining, drilling, or anything else threatened to overwhelm the wanderer and those around them, the wanderer shared the music of elements, and all those who heard were inspired to carry on and fight harder to listen, learn, and help keep our home. Let us listen now to the song of the elements and carry it with us as we do all we can to keep our home whole and healthy.
Good morning. My name is Kathy Jackson, and I'm a member of the pastoral care team. In this spiritual community, we remind ourselves each week that joy and woe are woven fine. Some of us bear burdens made lighter as others help to carry it. Some of us hold joys that shine most brightly as others reflect our delight. Steve Evans and Sarah Foreman would like to thank all of you who sent cards, emails, and various messages of support during Steve's recent health crises. Steve is now living at Meadow Mills in Hamden. Should you want to visit, please contact Sarah. Let's together take a moment to bear witness to all that the people of this congregation are holding in their hearts. Amen.
In the Islamic faith tradition, the sayings of the Prophet Muhammad are called hadith and are considered sacred. When it comes to humanity's care of nature and planet Earth, there is a hadith found in Sahih that goes,
When a tree is planted, it is an act of charity, for what is eaten from that tree is charity. what is given by that tree, what the beasts enjoy from it, what the birds find in it, is charity for the person who planted it. In short, no loss comes from planting a tree, but the greatest charity arises as it springs from the ground. So hearing this, I ask you, what message do you hear in these words? How can they guide us in our lives as caretakers of 21st century Earth?
The message I hear in this hadith is there are actions we can take that are long-lasting. When the tree is planted, it becomes a gift that keeps on giving. Offshore wind farms and more windmills can be gifts that keep on giving. Tax breaks for individuals and corporations that install solar panels. A nationwide effort to improve our infrastructure for electric car charging, with more tax breaks for those who manufacture and purchase electric cars. These are all things we can do to plant a modern seed. The seed can eventually become a tree whose branches can one day encompass our planet and give shade for damage we have caused to heal.
This message makes me think of how we interact with the planet and how everything we do has an impact. And that impact can be good or bad. So we should focus on making our impact more charitable, to help not only ourselves as humans, but every living thing on our planet. Planting trees is not the only way to positively affect plants and animals of our Earth.
What this made me think of is that it takes time for a tree to grow, and at the beginning of growing a tree, it can be hard to see the good influence that it will have and the rewards that it will bring to you. And relating this to climate change, the Earth is like our tree and we need to nourish it, and it can be hard to see the good impact that nourishing the Earth will have on the world and our environment.
I think of all the good that comes from helping our Earth, and that one tree can affect the lives of so many creatures. When we care for the Earth by planting a tree, it is not just the Earth we are tending to. We are also doing a good deed that stretches further than any lifetime and can last generations. Because the Earth is the source of all life, and is the most impactful thing we can do as humans is to treat our Earth with not only respect, but the purest of tenderness, thoughtfulness, and love.
We invite you now into the spirit of meditation with words from The Holy Universe by David Christopher. The web of life emerged from the infinite, bringing forth certain essences of the universe in new and surprising forms. There was no foretelling of the creativity of Earth, and the infinite, as the web of life became more beautifully complex with time. So then, as the infinite unpredictability brought forth forces, particles, and energy out of the unfathomable mystery, brought forth galaxies out of the forces, particles, and energy, brought forth stars and stardust out of galaxies, brought forth simple molecules out of stars and stardust, brought forth beautifully complex molecules out of these simple molecules, and brought forth tiny beings out of these beautifully complex molecules. So then did the web of life emerge into its infancy, born among the delicate relationships between the tiny beings themselves and between Earth and all beings. Thus, the web of life reflects the essence of emergence and unpredictability, that out of small beginnings and endless experiments, new and unforeseeable wholes shall emerge, and that these wholes themselves shall become the beginnings of greater, more intricate, and more beautifully complex and unpredictable wholes, all in a mysterious, eternal, cosmic play of self-organizing, self-discovering, and self-creating. As we believe and think and meditate upon these intricate and incredible connections, let us hold silence together. Blessed be.
Good morning. My name is Melinda Tuhus, and I'm a member of the Green Sanctuary and Environmental Justice Task Force. In honor of April being Poetry Month, I want to start with a poem my mother always loved to recite by Joyce Kilmer. I think that I shall never see a poem as lovely as a tree whose hungry mouth is pressed against the earth's sweet flowing breast. A tree that looks at God all day and lifts her leafy arms to pray. A tree that may in summer wear a nest of robins in her hair, upon whose bosom snow has lain, who intimately lives with rain. Poems are made by fools like me, but only God can make a tree. We are learning more every day about how trees communicate and help each other and build community. If only humans were so advanced. It seems like the best humans can do is minimize the damage we inflict on the standing ones. Damage caused either directly by cutting them down or indirectly by fanning the flames of the climate crisis, the literal flames of forest fires, or the infestation by insects that now overwinter in our forests, or the devastation from climate-fueled tornadoes that we've seen in our own area in the recent past. Some of us are fighting to save as many trees as we can because they do so much to promote our physical and emotional comfort. They reduce runoff and flooding. They provide shade in the summer and break the cold winds of winter. They provide habitat for thousands of creatures. They are fun to climb, and they are just plain beautiful. And as we've learned recently, they deserve to exist in their own right. The Green Sanctuary and Environmental Justice Task Force supports the effort to save trees and plant more trees in our towns and right here on USNH property, like the one that's being planted now in memory of our late beloved task force member, Dan Wade. We also hope the state and towns in Connecticut will plant at least one tree for every tree that's removed. I want to close with another poem, this one by Mary Oliver, When I Am Among the Trees. When I am among the trees, especially the willows and the honey locust, equally the beech, the oaks, and the pines, they give off such hints of gladness. I would almost say that they save me, and daily. I am so distant from the hope of myself, in which I have goodness and discernment, and never hurry through the world, but walk slowly and bow often. Around me, the trees stir in their leaves and call out, stay a while. The light flows from their branches, and they call again. It's simple, they say. And you too have come into the world to do this, to go easy, to be filled with light, and to shine.
The offering. USNH relies on your generosity in order to do the work of this, our beloved community. If you are able to contribute monetarily, click the donate button on our website, usnh.org, or mail a check to USNH at 700 Hartford Turnpike, Hamden, Connecticut, 06517.
Ancient writers like Moses, King David, and others gathered some of their most beautiful poetry into the book of Psalms in the Hebrew Scriptures. These poems dive so deeply into the spiritual relationships between human, the divine spirit, and the natural world around us. Now, more than 2,500 years later, these poems continue to inspire and guide so many people as they navigate the challenges of modern life. The 96th Psalm, in verses 11 and 12, contains a message that resonates even now, and especially today as we celebrate Earth Day and meditate on ways to protect our home. The psalm reads, "Let the heavens rejoice, let the earth be glad, let the sea resound and all that is in it. Let the fields be jubilant, everything in them. Let all the trees of the forest sing for joy." My sons, I ask you to share how these words move you and what you hear in their ancient messages. David, you first.
Hi, I'm David West, and I want to thank the Unitarians, and more directly my mom, for letting me hear this poem. This poem speaks to me of things that could happen if humanity worked together to halt the effects of global warming. But the poem does not say, "The heavens rejoice, the earth is glad." The poem says, "Let the heavens rejoice, let the earth be glad. For the heavens and the earth, the seas and all that is in them, and all the creatures of the forest to be glad, more needs to happen. The effects of global warming and the pure destructive power of humanity need to stop. The earth can't be happy or healthy until this is done. We need to stop. Stop polluting, stop living. Stop pretending that our world isn't going to work. This poem tells us about a happy, idealistic world that maybe, just maybe, work together to achieve."
Benjamin, do you have anything to say?
Yes, I do. Thank you for sharing those words with me, Mom. They remind me of the importance of the earth, the sky, the forest, and the seventh principle that everything is interconnected. Make the earth, the air, and the sea, the forest, and the fields, and all the living things happy. We have to treat this earth well. They will not be happy if we continue to put pollution into the air and the water and continue to put trash all over the planet. We should pick up litter to make the fields happier, or use less wood to make the forest happier, and use less oil to make the seas happier. There are big patches of garbage floating around the sea right now. The fish can't be happy with all that garbage. Sea turtles are getting stuck in plastic for a 6-pack can, and this makes them unhappy and they die. I'll tell other people the words you told me, so they can spread the word and stop pollution, so that earth, the sky, the forest, and the fields are all happy.
Good morning. My name is Nancy Apfel, and my pronouns are she, her, and hers. And these are my wonderful grandchildren.
Hi.
We have Jack here.
Hi.
Jack Rogers, and Aiden Rogers, and
Hello.
Zoe Rogers.
Hi.
In ancient India, before it was called India, religious thinkers put their thoughts down in a collection of 108 Upanishads. The word Upanishad means to sit down nearby. It is meant to communicate the way students sit near teachers and the way children and adults sit together to share learning. Today, I'd like to share with you a passage from the 6th Upanishad, which still means so much today, nearly 3,000 years after it was written. So this is the writing. All of earth and all of heaven, all that is divine lives in a single tree, the tree of eternity. This tree of eternity has roots in the sky and branches that reach down to the earth. Through these roots and branches flows Brahman, the divine spirit. Once we see that our lives are in the branches, we realize that by looking up to the sky, we find where we come from. And by looking down into the earth and water, we see where we're going. So I have some questions for you. Aiden, what do you think it means that the writers of the Upanishads imagined the tree of eternity to have branches on earth and roots in the sky?
Well, I think that what that means is that everything starts from the sky and grows into the earth, and that to continue growing, we need to be kind to the environment because it's a tree, and we need to make sure that we're not harmful to the environment so that the earth is fine and it stays the way it is, healthy, and everyone's happy.
Sounds good. So, Jack, what do you think this Upanishad means for people living today? What lesson can we take away from it?
I think the lesson is be mindful of what others think, be mindful of the others' impact on Earth and humanity, and think about your own impact on Earth and humanity too.
That's very thoughtful. Okay, and Zoe, what about you? What do you think that the story about the tree is?
I think about this tree is that we should be careful of what we throw down on the floor and clean it back up, because it could hurt our animals that are living outside in the nature.
Very good. Thank you all. Excellent.
The Gospel of Philip was not included in the collection of writings that we know today as the Bible, but one copy of it was buried along with other writings in a jar in Egypt and remained there until they were unearthed by a farmer in 1945. These early Christian writings are now known as the Gnostic Gospels or the Nag Hammadi Library. Philip's Gospel has much to teach us today, but one passage talks specifically about how we must remember to live in balance and harmony with the world, to not take too much from it, and to wait until nature is ready before we take from her bounty. Near the beginning of the Gospel, Philip wrote, "Those who sow in winter reap in summer. Let us sow in the world only that which we hope to reap in summer as it should be. Winter is the world as it is. Summer is the future we envision. It is wrong to harvest in winter. One must wait until summer. Those that take from earth in winter will spend summer hungry. If you pull up young winter plants, when the season of bounty comes, there will be nothing left. Even on the holiest of days, the fields will be barren and empty." So, my precious children, I ask you, what messages do you hear in these words? How can they guide us in our lives as caretakers of this 21st century earth?
I thought the message of the poem was that the world is good as it is, and we should stop global warming, because if we can stop, the world will become cleaner, and there will be all 4 seasons in places like Connecticut that do have them. So, in one part of the poem it says, "Winter is the world as it is, and summer is the future we envision." I thought of that as if it were referencing Antarctica. So, winter is the world as it is, meaning winter is their life, and summer is the future we envision came as. Because of global warming, the ice caps are melting and soon it will be all summer or melted, but it won't be cold anymore. These words can guide us to stop global warming, and we can do that by walking to places that are closer instead of driving, turning lights and water faucets off when you are done, planting a tree if you have a big yard, and so much more.
I thought the message of the poem was that we shouldn't take more than we need. The poem says, "Those who take from earth in winter will spend summer hungry," which I interpreted as if you take more than you need. If you take more than you need, you won't have anything left in the future. This should guide us to plant more trees so that in the future we won't run out of trees and still have them.
Earth was given as a garden, cradle for humanity, tree of life and tree of knowledge, placed for our discovery. Here was home for all your creatures, born of land and sky and sea, all created in your image, all to live in harmony. Show to us again the garden where all life was fresh and free. Gently guide your sons and daughters into full maturity. Teach us how to trust each other, how to use for good our power, how to touch the earth with reverence, and once more we'll eat and flower. Bless the earth and all your children, one creation makes us whole, interwoven, all connected, and entwined and inmost soul. Holy Mother, light bestowing, in our waste and warfare cease. Fill us all with grace o'erflowing, teach us how to live in peace.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Zen Buddhist thinker and activist Thich Nhat Hanh reminds us, we need to change our way of thinking and seeing things. We need to realize that the earth is not just our environment. The earth is not something outside of us. Breathing with mindfulness and contemplating your body, you realize that you are the earth. You realize that your consciousness is also the consciousness of the earth. Look around you. What you see is not your environment, it is you. Friends, I invite you to carry with you the wisdom of ages past and ages present. Feeling it flow within, may you be connected with and to all time. all space, and all Earth. May we protect this precious planet as we protect ourselves, knowing that all life is a circle, a web, and a way. Go in peace. Blessings to you.